Write a 2-sentence review about the book, discussing what happened in it or describing what you liked and didn't like. Create an illustration based on the book. You can draw a scene or a character, or you can artistically represent a favorite quote. Create a book workout based on specific themes or events in the book. Whenever a reader reaches a certain part, they'll have to complete a specific exercise. Using the free Anchor app, record a podcast discussing your impressions of the book. Get your groove on with a book playlist. Create a playlist based on the events of the book or with music that you think the main character would enjoy listening to. Or get thoughtful with these creative writing prompts. You can imagine what the main character is doing over summer vacation and tell me about it. Write out an extra scene from the book and make a fan fiction. Or create a poem based on the events of the book or in response to it. There are 4 ways you can earn strategy points. You can get strategy points by reading the same book for 5 days in a row, 15 minutes at a time or more, by reading aloud to someone, listening to an audiobook with somebody else, or reading at least half of a book outside. Equipment points are points for readings that are shorter than a whole book. You get 5 points simply by reading through the entire instructions and then selecting that on the Google form. You get 3 points for watching a movie or video by turning on the captions and reading along with the captions. So that could be something that's in a different language than what you're used to, or even just English, as long as you're reading along and it's at least 15 minutes. You can get 2 points for reading a newspaper article or a database article, and we do have access to databases on the school website. 1 point for simply reading nutrition facts. That takes like a minute to do, and then you need to calculate the total contents of the package based on serving size. So that's a simple multiplication problem, and if you do that, then you'll receive 1 point. DIY Toolkit is where you complete a project based on written instructions. So you have to read the instructions and then go ahead and create the project based on it. Classic Connection. This is tied with if you read a classic book, you can then make a connection by exploring it in another format. For instance, you can listen to one of the podcasts about the Odyssey that we have from our podcast contest, or you could watch a movie adaptation of a classic and earn 3 points for doing that. And last but not least, we have our dictionary point. This is if you look up a reference that you're unfamiliar with. So if you find, say, a fancy word like pulchritudinous, and you're like, what does that mean? Look it up in the dictionary and add that to the form, and you'll get 1 point for doing that. Last but certainly not least, we have our quests. Quests are based on genre or what the book is about. So for quests, there are primary and secondary quests. You can complete up to 1 primary and 1 secondary quest per book. If you don't choose to do a quest for primary, just select Other on the form. And if a book can qualify for either primary or secondary quest points, they'll have this little symbol here. Alrighty, from the top. So our quests that are only available for primary points are College Ready or Classics. These are books that are on the College Ready or Classics lists on Sora that I've created. And you can find books in the collection. That needs to be linked, so I'll go ahead and add that link back in there. You can also include other texts such as the Bible or old books like Aristotle's Physics or Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. STEMphasis is a book that is non-fiction with an emphasis on science, technology, engineering, or math. And you cannot combine this with the biography quest. For recommendations, for different books that you can choose from, click one of the links. Picture book read aloud. This is 5 points, and this is if you just read aloud a picture book to a sibling. If you want to read aloud a full, longer book to someone, then you'll just use the strategy points instead, so that you get your maximum amount of points available. are secondary only quests. There is authors, A to Z, and that is where you find an author whose last name starts with the same letter as your first name, and you read a book by that author. I've included some resources so that you can see authors in alphabetical order. Shared birth month. This is where you find an author whose birthday falls in the same month as yours and read a book by them. And you can click on this calendar to find out more information. Second book is where you read a second book by an author you have read in the past. Dual mission opportunities. These are books that can qualify for these are opportunities that can qualify for primary or secondary points. If you use it for primary, you get the higher value. If you use it for secondary, you get the lower value. So there's local author, and that is where you read a book by somebody who is from Fresno or this area around here. So I have a longer list of books by local authors on Sora if you click right here. And this will include books in the Fresno County Public Library as well as the school library. Poetry. So I have a list of novels in verse, a list of poetry collections, and a couple of recommendations that I have made. As a note, you can actually use this as well to unlock the local author's achievement if you happen to choose a poetry collection by an author who is local, and we have some of those. Biography is where you read a book about somebody else. It's a nonfiction book telling their life story, so I've got some recommendations as well as a list of the biographies that you can find on Sora. Genre is when you choose to read a book outside of the genre that you usually read. So, for instance, if you usually read science fiction books and decide to try a romantic comedy, then you could get the genre points. I also have here a list of books that I recommend in various genres in case you're not familiar with them. And we have recommended reading. This is points that you get if you read something that is recommended to you by a parent, guardian, or trusted adult. And you can also read something from the genre recommendations above to get these points. Rereading a childhood favorite is where you reread a book that was one of your favorites when you were a kid. And last but not least, we have Summer Fun, and that is a book that is set in summertime or else that is a back-to-school story. And you can click here to find a collection of those kind of books that I've created for you. So those are your different quests, equipment, strategies, and validation options. Please let me know if you have any questions.